Muy buenos días, son las 8:13 de la mañana. Vamos a comenzar con esta práctica de escribir corales, son 4 voces. Hoy queremos meter el quinto ascendido como séptimo del sexto, que vamos en re bemol mayor, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, re, mi, fa, sol, la. La, do, mi, sol. está mal, está raro. Why? Así. Sí. Vamos a hacer 5 minutos de descanso. Bueno, todavía no, cuando llegamos a los 20 minutos, hacemos 5 minutos de descanso, que ahora va a ser ahora. Vamos a algo de descansamos 5 minutitos. Hagamos 20 minutos de trabajo. Vamos a hacer 5 minutos de descanso. Como los mates. Como andan bien. Vamos a poner un video o algo así, está bueno. Ahora vamos a poner un video en YouTube.
Well, actually, it was like this. It was much easier for me to start. Hard version, extreme version.
Hello everybody, this is the first podcast we record in English with my wife Gosia.
Hello.
So today we're gonna resurrect the podcast, which was called like my old YouTube channel, and then we renamed it. So the podcast is named Anti-Path because we have a lot of ideas how to live in a anti-cultural manner and making choices that are different from the mainstream. So this was the idea behind the name. And we're gonna talk today, of course, about dumb phones, what I learned by using 2 years a dumb phone. So this will be basically my experience, not yours.
It will be also my experience. Maybe not using a dumb phone for 2 years.
But you have used a dumb phone before.
Yes, for 1 month or 2 months.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. So, I can add some
context from a mother's perspective.
Exactly.
What I have learned, let's start by this. I have learned that it's far easier to live without a smartphone than to have a smartphone actually. But it was not something I have felt at the beginning of this experiment. I wanted to try to have a dumb phone basically because I liked the MP01, the design. And so I thought, well, let's try this. But it was also because I remembered those old Nokia phones we had when we were students. And so the MP01 has reminded me of those phones, but being a nice design, a contemporary design. So that is why I wanted to try it, and it was very, very uncomfortable and painful at the beginning. Is it also your experience?
Yes, it was also my experience. Maybe I will tell my story.
Okay, go.
Because, I was using a smartphone for many years,
yeah.
And I noticed some symptoms of smartphone addiction.
What were those symptoms?
Because during the day I had a very little time for me because I'm a mom of 2 little girls. So, I was busy with all the stuff around them. And during the evening, during the night, I was watching YouTube.
So you used your smartphone to watch YouTube, basically?
Yes, I was so happy that I have some time for me, and I started to watch movies in series.
It was series or long form movies?
Long form
Estamos en tiempo.
movies, but in series,
Okay,
like
so the episodes were 1 hour long.
yes, 1 hour long, and the time I was consuming, like 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, it was really ambitious.
So I was sleep deprived. I was tired
But
during the
you were
day.
tired and sleep deprived because of the time you spent on watching those movies, or you were watching movies because you had trouble sleeping?
No, I was watching because I wanted to distract myself, to
Okay.
have some time for me, and YouTube started, to propose me some new movies.
You were a victim of the YouTube's algorithm.
Yes, so it was the one thing, and the second thing was related to notifications and the messages that I received from applications like WhatsApp. I was all the time during the day, I was distracted because I received some short messages from my friends, and it was really, a lot.
But it was too much because you had too much friends, or because they used too much WhatsApp?
I think that they use too much WhatsApp.
Because the premise of WhatsApp is somehow useful. It's just to connect people across the world without having to pay extremely high communication fees.
I agree, but when you have, a group on WhatsApp for in school for your
So it were
daughter
so it were other moms
kindergarten, from your friends,
Mhm.
old-time friends from school, from other parents, it's really a lot.
So you were distracted by the notifications?
Yes, and I saw that, I am not present here. I need to change something. And you were already using a dumb phone. You offered me one, and it was
No, so
funny.
I wanted to buy the Punkt MP02, so I bought the Punkt MP02, and I told you, okay, I've got the 01, use it.
Yes, one day you just gave me.
Yeah, because because I saw your story is excellent. Now, how I saw it, I saw that you became more stressed, and I didn't know why until you told me that you pass an extreme amount of time watching some kind of movies on YouTube, and that is very difficult for you to not watch those movies. And that is why I told you, I was stressed also. And when I started to using the dumb phone, actually, my stress went way down.
Well, actually, it was like this. You just, in the morning, my smartphone disappeared.
I forced you.
Yes, and I received a dumb phone from you. I was completely unprepared for this. I had some obligation. No, it was not a good idea because I had some obligations,
Okay, so I forced
remember.
you. I forced you to be out of your comfort zone, basically, because you went for a meeting.
I had a meeting in a kindergarten,
and you had no possibility to make a scan. You
Yes,
had no
exactly.
possibility to note something. Because of the point, you cannot even make a text note. Nothing works. Basically, you can only call and send a message.
But it worked in a sense that I became much more aware of my addiction. But also it was difficult because I had a lot of things to do. I'm a personal assistant of my daughter.
Yeah.
I need to send a lot of text messages. And on a dumb phone, it's not possible.
Yeah, because you have to click 3 times to make a letter.
So I was very angry, and it was completely outside of my comfort zone.
But you were angry at the phone or at me
At you.
for forcing you?
At you.
Okay.
But luckily, you gave me a new phone.
It was the Unihertz.
Unihertz.
No, it was not the Titan Pocket. It was the small one, the Atom.
Okay.
It
So
was
I
the
don't
Atom.
remember.
It was the Atom, and then we replaced it by a Titan Pocket because you wanted to have a keyboard to send those messages. So basically, I started solving your problem.
Exactly. And everything was blocked on this phone. Like
Not
internet,
everything.
not everything, but I was not able to browse.
Yeah, I prepared a special kind of Android system that had only the useful applications. So I left SMS messages, I left a calendar, I left the task manager we used together, I left mapping, I think I left also, and it was in grayscale mode. And you could not access internet via a browser.
Yes.
And how was using this?
It was great.
It was great.
Yes,
Okay.
it was great.
And later on with the Titan Pocket, which had a keyboard, it was even better because you had the possibility to use the keyboard, and it solved the problem for you with sending SMS messages.
Yes, and then for some organizational reasons, you gave me once again a smartphone.
An iPhone, yeah, because my work forced me to use iOS. And I later on figured that I don't need to have an iPhone. I can actually configure at work an iPad, which I did, but earlier on for compatibility reasons, I gave you an iPhone. It's my fault.
Yes, and I can confirm that smartphones are designed to be addictive.
Tell me.
I found a way to connect.
To browse
the internet, yes, through Google Maps.
By using Google Maps application, yeah. Because I prepared also the iPhone in such a way that Gosia uses just the applications that she needs. So there was no YouTube, there was no internet browser, and she still figured a way to use the internal internet browser, which exists as a part of the Google Maps application.
Yes, but thanks to this experience first with dumb phone and with other phones, I was able to quickly, notice that I'm starting, this addiction
So you noticed
cycle.
the pattern.
Yes, I
Yeah.
noticed the pattern, and I was reacting. I react very quickly.
How can you react?
I just realized that I just have to stop, and it was much easier with this experience not using a smartphone. It was much easier for me just to stop.
Okay, so basically the experience of using a dumb phone made you aware of the addiction mechanisms,
Yes.
and when you saw that you are visiting far too often the internal browser inside of Google Maps, you said to yourself, okay, Gosia, let's stop it because it will not serve me.
Exactly, and I think that it is very good to use dumb phone even for 1 month or 2 months. You are using for 2 years.
2 years,
great.
Yeah. No, I will never go back to using an iPhone or a smartphone for this reason. And I have also this experience because I went back to an iPhone before configuring my iPad, and I thought that after using a dumb phone exclusively, I am cured. I will not be addicted I will not perpetuate those behaviors I had before. But actually, in 2 weeks, I was exactly at the same point as I was before trying using a pool, which is crazy. So 2 years basically does not cancel the addictive mechanisms. That is why I am saying to people that making technological detoxes is not really a good solution, because once you finish the detox, you will be exactly where you've been before the detox. But making a break by using a dumb phone for at least I think 2 months can be useful if you want to see where your discomfort lies. And so you saw, for example, without having the access to all the applications, that what you need was GPS navigation and a fast way to receive and send SMS messages. My experience is completely different. I don't want to send messages because when I started calling people, I actually started appreciating talking to people. And so I'm glad that my phone is not allowing me to text easily, because that is why I call people. And it's not your experience at all. You prefer
Well,
SMS
I agree that that it's better to call people, but sometimes, there is no such a possibility, or it's easier for both just to send a text message. But of course, when I would like to discuss something about my daughter's swimming class, of course that I will call. I am aware of this pattern that I was also hiding behind a phone. It's much easier to send a text message than to call and to build some relation.
Especially if you have some bad news to tell. You don't see the reaction of the people on the other side. My experience is that I'm not socially very capable, which means that even though I'm vlogging, etc., I'm forcing myself basically to expand my social capabilities. But if I have the possibility to hide behind some technology, I will do it. And that is why I am not using a smartphone, because if I have the possibility, I would probably send more SMS messages, text messages than calling people. Okay, so Gosia, will you use a dumb phone in the future, or will you stay using an iPhone?
I prefer to use a dumb phone, but not, that hard version, extreme version.
Case, okay.
Yes, like you. But this Universe Titan Pocket, it was, something.
Okay, it was a middle ground. It was Android-based. When you consider such minimalistic or feature phones, do you think about what is happening under the system? That, for example, Android sends a lot of data to Google, and that probably Punkt is not sending this amount of data.
No,
You
I
don't
think
care?
it's another topic,
Okay, so we will have an iPhone for sale. We will buy Titan Pocket, the Universe Titan Pocket. That's it. Thank you for this time, and see you in the next episodes.
Bye.
Ah, bueno, ¿viste? Vamos a poner otro videito. No, bueno, vamos a poner un videito.
Hi there, welcome to my camp, welcome to my local woods. Now, if you have been following this channel for some time, you probably know that I don't have a smartphone. And I haven't had a smartphone for 3 years now. And in this video, I'll give you some observations that I have made during these 2 years concerning how smartphones are affecting society as a whole, and how not having a smartphone made my life much better. It's beautiful here, and one of the big advantages of not having a smartphone is that you get to take it all in without distractions. And many times I don't even bring my phone. I have what I call a bum phone, old-fashioned phone. I don't always bring it. It's getting colder. It's the middle of October now, and and winter will soon be here. And for those of you who are new to this channel, you might have noticed that I have an accent, and that's because I'm Norwegian. I am in Norway. We will have snow very soon. Okay, so in this video I will be talking about how not having a smartphone has affected my life in a positive way. I will be talking about the observations that I have made concerning society as a whole, and I will be talking about how things have changed, and not for the better, during the last 3 years. So I made some notes here, because I don't have a smartphone that I can look at like all the other YouTubers, so I have my notes here. For me, what changed was that I got more focus, more available time. I felt that I was more present in the now. I was more in the present, if you know what I mean. And no surprises there. I don't miss having a smartphone at all. So that's, I could put away the notes there, and it's very simple. I don't miss having a smartphone, and I don't. It doesn't make life complicated not having a smartphone. That's it. But what is interesting here is how you start observing people and society when you don't have a smartphone, because you find yourself looking at people who are constantly looking at their smartphone. And I will talk a little bit about that, because if I didn't mention so already, I think you will find it interesting. So, this epidemic of smartphone addiction, because it is an addiction, and don't get me wrong here, I'm not pointing my finger at anyone here. It's, society is making it very difficult for people to go about their normal life without having a smartphone. But we need to be able to look at the whole situation, and it's not all good. I would say it's not good at all, because what we're seeing is that people have now a very short attention span. I'm finding it difficult to have a conversation, a normal conversation with people without them looking at their smartphone. They person. Nobody ever said that. Nobody's ever said that I'm boring, but maybe all of a sudden that's what people think now. That's why they need to look at their smartphone. Or maybe it is that that's what they do, because it's a habit. They can take it more easily now. And I think at least partly because they have access to people and newspapers and news channels, and they want the clicks, they want the attention, so they are constantly trying to play with people's emotions. That's what gets them the clicks. So people on my list here also, I have noted that it seems like people now have become mentally lazy. Whenever they get a mental challenge, they don't care about trying to figure it out in their head. They use the smartphone. But instead of trying to do something that they will to a certain smartphone. And also I have that a lot of the people claim that they are so busy. They're not. It's just that they're looking at the I guess you're busy checking a smartphone and looking at Facebook and whatever. If those people had studied about this, I guess, but maybe it's not so important anymore. The smartphone is here to stay. People will not be quitting using the smartphone. It's become part of humanity almost. And I think it's kind of sad. I think people are missing out on life and valuable life experiences. You know, even like outdoors influencers, you know, outdoors YouTubers will not be taking it all in when they're out there. You know, when I go hiking and camping, I'm out there. You know, there are no distractions. My colleagues in that niche here on YouTube, they will in their tent, they will be looking at YouTube, other YouTube videos of movies and TV series and stuff like that. And you know, I'm not here to moralize. I'm just saying that maybe if that's you, maybe you're missing out on that very unique experience that you would have had if you had just not brought your smartphone. So what has changed during these last 3 years? Well, first of all, I have noticed that quite a lot of people get provoked when I say that I don't have a smartphone. And some people think I'm lying. And you will probably see it in the comment section here. And I've seen it before in my videos because I have talked about this before. You will have the geniuses, they will say, well, if you don't have a smartphone, how come you can record a video then? Yeah. Have you heard about the camera? You know, cameras. And I think that these people who get provoked by me not having a smartphone, they have become such a big part of was so immersed in this group dynamic. And here's one guy who refuses to have a smartphone, you know, and they can't tolerate that. I'm not saying that you can't have a smartphone. I'm just saying that I will not have a smartphone because my life feels much better without a smartphone. And also, it seems like people have given up when it comes to the whole surveillance thing. For me, the drop that made the glass spill over, so to speak, and that made me make that decision to throw away my smartphone was that the Norwegian government, they were starting to push this tracking app. This was the COVID crisis and all that, and I said to myself, I'm not going to be part of that, and they're not going to be tracking me. I refuse to be part of that. Now, there will be people writing in the comment section that, well, if you have a mobile phone, they can track you anyway. That's a little bit... Did you really think that a smartphone with all the apps can even be compared to a phone like my... I'll show you. A phone like this. It's on the old emergency network, something like that. You can text and make calls. That's all. It has no internet, nothing like that. So you can find the position of that phone there using triangulation. But you can't really compare that to the amount of information being sent out from your smartphone to governments, companies, third-party companies. Information comes from your movements, everything you do on that smartphone. And it's not a conspiracy theory when I'm telling you that it's listening. The smartphone will be listening. But sometimes I feel when I try to tell people that it's like either they don't care or they say, "Well, I have nothing to hide." Really? Are you sure about that? And also, I know that as a YouTuber, most people will be watching this video here on the smartphone, and it harms my channel to say what I'm saying here. I realize that, but I think this message is more important than the number of views I get, because I do think it's an important message. Let me add that for me as a novelist, not having a smartphone is a big advantage, because when you're writing a novel, it's how should I explain it? It's well, you have the hours when you're sitting there writing and doing research and so on. But you also have, at least for me, the rest of the day. The work is I'm still working, but it's in my subconscious mind in a way, and not having interruptions from a smartphone is a good thing, because it takes away attention from that creative process. Another thing is that some people are claiming that having that unit, that surveillance unit, that smartphone, so close to your physiology for so many hours every day is maybe not healthy because of the radiation. You might be surprised if you go and have a look in your user manual, the user manual that used to come with the smartphone. I don't know if it does anymore. Maybe it's online. Maybe it's on the smartphone itself. At the end of my videos, I often say, "Stay strong." But today, I will leave you with the following words: Seize the day.
Buah. Hagamos una cosa de 50 a 55, hacemos rest. Ahí está. Hagamos eso. Bueno, muy interesante el tema del smartphone. Me vamos a poner otro.
Calm. Vacations. And all because I switched to the dumb phone and I would never go back. There was one point a few years ago when I was just completely sick of this little piece of plastic right here. I was daily wasting hours on end, I was getting brain rot par excellence, and it somehow just made me feel miserable. So I quickly hopped on Amazon and ordered the cheapest dumb phone I could get. This is the Nokia 105, and I used this little dumb phone here as my daily driver for 3 months straight. Out of the box, it came with a charger, removable battery, and you guessed it, a phone. The phone itself is super simple. You can write messages, you can set alarms, you can even play Tetris and make phone calls as well. And because I was just super sick of my screen time at the time, I decided to really go cold turkey and completely switch my smartphone for a dumb phone. And the first month was really like a honeymoon. I wanted to go all in and try my first digital detox. And I messaged everyone I knew that from now on I could only be contacted by SMS or phone calls and no messengers anymore. And the first days were such a new experience to me. I honestly felt like I had to relearn so many things in my life. It felt really weird and sometimes almost as if I was naked. When I went outside for a walk, there was nothing that I could distract myself with. No music, no podcast. But I could lie. So basically my whole life, the only thing that I knew was to distract myself when the slightest feeling of boredom or uncomfortableness actually came up. You don't feel that well or don't want to be doing what you're doing at the moment, distract yourself. But now my screen time was basically 0. Well, I don't know whether you can call that screen time. I mean, like, look at it. And after a few days of actually getting accustomed to this, I really felt like I was feeling the benefit of it. I was calm, I was really in the moment, I could really think more clearly, and I felt so much more mindful without doom scrolling in every opportunity at hand. I really much loved it. But you know what is even better? Battery life. Only having to charge your phone like every couple of days or so is just so ridiculous. And I just felt like life was simpler with a dumb phone. Oh fuck, it's Michael again. Simple is actually a good topic. So I did not really expect this because, of course, you can write messages as in any normal messenger with this phone. Like, you know, a keyboard here, and I could just normally text people whenever I wanted. But the thing is, although there is a keyboard, it's really not that practical to really much write on it because it's just a huge pain in the ass. So as I'm actually naturally more of a person that actually likes to text people instead of call them, I was super surprised for this as well. But I really much enjoyed that I call people way more often with this phone. Because as I said, super practical to text people. So whenever I actually normally would text them, I would give them a call. And I really much liked this because it was nice. I was catching up with family and friends way more often, even if it just was for a small thing or so. You ended up catching up and talking for maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so, which was super nice because texting is often just kind of quick. You ask or say what you have to say and then close the messenger again, vice versa. But after about a month or so, I had the realization, hey Nokia,
Comenzamos un poquito y...
What the hell? I cost $30.
That it could also be really annoying. So you see, I was actually super happy with how things were actually going with the dumb phone. But there are kind of more and more situations where I wish I had a normal smartphone. The GPS navigation was just so annoying. Because, of course, you can drive by memory, and sometimes this even has something to it, and it's kind of rewarding. But in general, when you have to drive far away, when you don't really much know the way, or when you just simply are short on time and have to get from A to B, I would just like to use some normal Google Maps on my smartphone. And the same actually applies to public transport as well, because normally I would just open my app, look when the train arrives, whether the train actually arrives at all. Trains in Germany are never on time, or whether it arrives on different tracks. But now I was completely clueless. I had no information whatsoever, and I actually had, because I couldn't look it up on my phone, to go into the railway station, look it up on paper time schedules, which were super inaccurate because trains are often late. Plus, nowadays, I can't even use a physical ticket anymore because I have to have it all on my phone digitally, which makes it impossible not to use a smartphone, actually. These were the first times when I thought, like, man, screw this stupid dumb phone, because this was actually supposed to create calmness and make my life easier. But in these situations, it was exactly doing the opposite. Although I actually previously really much enjoyed calling instead of texting people, now I more and more often actually ran into problems. There were situations where this was just super impractical. For example, I was in WhatsApp group chats for my uni, for birthday parties, grandparents or whatnot, and I simply can't tell 50 people in a group chat that, hey, can you please summarize regularly what you write in this group chat because I am now offline? I felt like situations like these where the dumb phone actually reached its limits for me in my lifestyle. And to compensate that, I actually set up everything on my computer. WhatsApp web, Signal, Telegram, I was watching YouTube videos there, I was listening to music there, and somehow I just shifted my screen time from my phone to my actual computer. We should take good screen time. Place it somewhere else. Also, there are so many things that I just constantly missed. Because yes, on this thing, my screen time was too high. Yes, I was consuming stupid content and wasting my time way too often. But there were also things like, for example, podcasts, music, and most importantly, audiobooks that I felt were a really good use of my time and that I didn't want to miss. Or for example, when I was on holiday and I just missed the opportunity to actually just pull a smartphone and take a picture of whatever I saw at that moment. And I slowly realized that I had to change something about my approach. You see, I did not try this whole experiment right here because I wanted to film some fancy video for my YouTube channel. So no, this was actually 3 years ago or so, before I even had this YouTube channel. And the only reason why I actually wanted to switch to a dumb phone was because I was fed up with my smartphone and I wanted to make a meaningful change. And I knew that if I wanted to continue this experiment, then I had to really much think about how I could make this dumb phone actually work for me in the long run. The solution, even more tech. So after thinking about it for a very long time, I decided to add some tech into my life again. Before all of this, my main goal was actually to reduce my screen time and feel better in general, and not to live in the Stone Ages or so. So, for example, I bought this super cool MP3
Qué lindo, ¿qué es
which you
eso?
cannot only listen to
Hermoso.
podcasts, but also officially to audible audiobooks, which was really important to me. When I started carrying around this little nugget here, it was kind of weird because I was so used to streaming services where you could just listen to whatever you wanted, but then you also tend to listen to some music that you don't really much like that much. But on this thing here, I only downloaded the songs that I really much like and that were actually my favorite. When it came to the camera, I actually experimented with quite many options. So at some points I used a digital camera, and at other times I used some old analog cameras, which you can get like for $10 in the supermarket, and you can also then make them and roll the photos. It was not a perfect fix, so I really much enjoyed this when I was on vacation or just going outside and really had to take a picture on my mind, but I still kind of missed the ability of a smartphone to just take random snapshots, especially like the analog camera, and took some of my favorite pictures so far on this one. And that was about the third month I actually used my dumb phone. And at that time, I made one change that would eventually bring my dumb phone journey to an end and start another one towards a life where I use tech more mindfully. I actually carried my phone again with me because I figured I didn't want to be scared of that time-wasting smartphone anymore and decide myself what I'm going to do on my phone and what not, and to use it actually for things that are useful to me. And therefore, I created 2 rules that made handling the smartphone that are now newly integrated into my lifestyle again actually far more manageable. First, my smartphone always had to be turned off, and I would only turn it on when I actually need something on my phone.
Claro.
After that, I would eventually immediately turn it off again. And number 2, I would always place it somewhere that's far away from me. So when I'm at home, that usually means that I would store it in a drawer. Or when I'm doing something outside, that would usually mean that I put it deep into my backpack or so. And by doing that, I actually wanted to make sure that I could use again all the features that I actually missed, like train schedules, tickets, using navigation, without immediately being sucked into my phone again. And here we are 3 years later. Am I still using my dumb phone? No, actually not. Do I want to use it again? No, actually also not. I feel like that time without my smartphone, that digital detox if you want, and also the time where I slowly reintegrated my smartphone, really much teach me a lesson and make me go about it in a completely different way. Since I made this experiment, my screen time actually stayed super low throughout all the time. Have there been the occasional 2-hour doom scrolling sessions? Yes, but that's only an exception to the rule. Generally, I really much used my phone way less since then. I really much appreciate the time without a smartphone. Like I learned how to not get distracted or also not let myself be distracted that easily. And I felt like I was ready to use this super ambiguous piece of plastic again. Something that can actually be super useful in your everyday life,
but also be an immense waste of time if you do not use it correctly. But I figured that the key to all of this is that you have to learn yourself what kind of a relationship you actually want to have with this piece of technology right here, or not. I'm super curious about your thoughts on dumb phones, and if you tried one yourself or want to do so, please write it down in the comments. I'm super curious what you all think. And if you're into digital minimalism and actually want to reduce your screen time as well, without actually going that far, then I made a really much related video to this one that you can find here, where I actually talk about several ways how you can turn your normal smartphone into some sort of a modern dumb phone that actually makes you use your phone way less without giving up all the modern benefits of a smartphone. Besides that, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. This helps a ton with the algorithm and stuff. And besides that, again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next time. Bye-bye.
Es un quilombo esta mierda. Concha de tu madre, boludo. Dios mío. No estoy para cortar, boludo. Bueno, vamos hasta acá. Bueno, un saludo muy grande. Nos vemos en el próximo stream. Abrazo.